Stop scrolling right now. Just stop. I need you to look at your kitchen, wherever you are, whatever room you're in. There's almost certainly an egg somewhere nearby, in your fridge, in a dish you made last night, in a protein bar sitting on your counter. Eggs are so normal, so routine, so completely woven into daily American life that you stopped noticing them years ago. But here's something you have never once thought about: why chicken eggs, not duck eggs, not eagle eggs. Not hawk eggs or seagull eggs or alligator eggs or ostrich eggs. Not the eggs of any of the hundreds of thousands of species on this planet that lay eggs. Just chicken eggs, with maybe duck or quail thrown in on special occasions. Out of hundreds of thousands of egg-laying species on Earth, you eat 3. Why? That question has an answer so deep, so strange, and so genuinely fascinating that by the time this video is over, you will never crack an egg again without thinking about it. We're going into evolutionary biology, agricultural history, parasite science, flavor chemistry, and one fact about the domestic chicken that is so extraordinary it sounds made up. It is not made up. Let's go. Most people, when they hear this question, give the same answer immediately. Wild bird eggs are protected by law. True. In the United States, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 makes it illegal to collect, possess, or consume the eggs of virtually every wild bird species in the country. Federal law. Real penalties, but that's today. That's a law passed 100 years ago. What about before that? What about the thousands of years of human history before any government passed any wildlife protection law? What about the hunter-gatherers, the early farmers, the ancient civilizations that had access to every wild bird nest they could find and no legal consequence whatsoever for taking what was in it? They still didn't build their diets around wild bird eggs. Why? The answer starts 10,000 years ago, in Southeast Asia. With a bird you would recognize immediately if you saw it, the red junglefowl. That is what your breakfast is. Not directly, not that specific bird. But genetically, evolutionarily, historically, that is the ancestor of every chicken egg you have ever eaten. The domestic chicken, Gallus domesticus, was domesticated from the red junglefowl somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 years ago. And here is the detail that changes the entire story. The red junglefowl lays 6 to 12 eggs per year. That's it. 6 to 12, one clutch, seasonal, tied entirely to breeding cycles. If you ate those eggs, the actual wild bird eggs from the wild ancestor of your breakfast, the bird didn't reproduce. You made a trade, one meal today, no bird next year. Wild bird eggs were never a reliable food source. They were a seasonal windfall, a bonus. Something you ate when you stumbled across it, not something you could build a food system on. So what changed? Asterisk soft CTA, 500 words asterisk subscribe right now. Because what changed is one of the most extraordinary things humans have ever done to another species. And it gets so much stranger from here. Hit subscribe. Don't miss the next one. What changed is one of the most radical biological transformations in agricultural history: selective breeding. Over thousands of years, not in a lab, not with any scientific understanding of genetics, just through farmers noticing which birds laid more eggs and keeping those birds, humans completely rewired the chicken's reproductive biology. Generation after generation, selecting for the one trait that mattered most. Lay more eggs, lay more eggs, lay more eggs. The result: a modern laying hen produces 250 to 300 eggs per year. Read that again. The wild ancestor laid 6 to 12. The domesticated version lays 250 to 300. That is not an incremental improvement. That is a complete biological transformation. We took a bird that reproduced seasonally and turned it into a machine that produces an unfertilized egg almost every single day of its life. The chicken's reproductive system was hacked by 10,000 years of selective pressure into a state of permanent, continuous, non-reproductive laying that nothing in nature would ever produce on its own. And that is why you eat chicken eggs. Not because chicken eggs are the best eggs biologically, not because chickens are special animals, but because humans spent 10,000 years engineering them to be the most productive egg-laying machines in the history of animal agriculture. An eagle lays 1 to 3 eggs per year, in a nest built on a cliff face or a tall tree, protected aggressively by 2 birds that have talons strong enough to break your arm. At a time of year you can't predict, and every egg you take is one fewer eagle in the world. The chicken lays an egg tomorrow, in a box, without fighting back. The choice was not complicated, but here's where it gets interesting, because availability explains why chickens won. It doesn't explain why wild bird eggs specifically don't work. And the reasons they don't work are stranger than you think. Let's talk about flavor first, because this surprises everyone. The taste of an egg is not just egg flavor. It is a direct chemical record of everything the bird ate. Every fatty acid, every flavor compound, every chemical in the bird's diet gets concentrated and expressed in the egg. A chicken fed a controlled grain diet produces an egg with a mild, neutral, versatile flavor. That's why chicken eggs work in everything from scrambled eggs to cakes to pasta. Mild, neutral, controllable. A bald eagle eats fish, rabbits, squirrels, waterfowl. A bald eagle egg would taste like everything a bald eagle has ever eaten. Intensely gamey, strongly fishy, with flavor compounds that most human palates would find genuinely unpleasant. Seagull egg, which can actually be legally consumed in the UK during a short specific season, is famously described as tasting powerfully of fish. Because seagulls eat fish, the egg tastes exactly like what the bird eats always, without exception, every time you eat chicken eggs, partly because of what chickens eat. Grain, something humans control completely. Producing an egg flavor humans control completely. Wild birds eat whatever they want, and their eggs taste like it. Now here's the part nobody talks about. The part that's actually the most important reason wild bird eggs stayed off the menu for most of human history: parasites. Wild birds carry a dramatically higher parasite load than domesticated birds in managed environments. Not because wild birds are dirty, because wild birds eat wild things, insects, small mammals, fish, carrion. Each of those food sources carries its own parasite ecosystem. Many of those parasites complete parts of their life cycles inside bird tissue, including reproductive tissue, including eggs. A wild bird egg can carry internal parasites that a commercially produced chicken egg almost never does, because the chicken's controlled diet dramatically limits its parasite exposure. Salmonella, the pathogen most commonly associated with egg contamination, occurs in the gut of many wild bird species at significantly higher rates than in managed poultry flocks. Because wild birds are exposed to environmental contamination that commercial flocks are not, the risk is real. It is documented. And it was observed long before anyone understood germ theory. Early humans didn't know what salmonella was, but they noticed that eating certain eggs made people sick, and the behavior that survived was avoidance. Soft CTA 1000 words *, we're halfway through and it keeps getting stranger. A wild bird's egg can taste like fish and give you parasites. Subscribe if you want to keep going on these deep dives every single week. Free, fast, hit subscribe now. Here's where this story takes a turn that most food science videos completely skip: reptile eggs. Because if we're asking why we don't eat wild bird eggs, we also need to ask, why don't we eat alligator eggs, turtle eggs, snake eggs? These animals all lay eggs. The eggs are physically edible. Some human populations have eaten them historically. So what's the story? Turtle eggs are interesting. They were consumed extensively by coastal populations around the world for thousands of years. Sea turtle eggs were a major food source in parts of Central America, the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, and coastal Africa. And then they almost ended those species entirely. Sea turtle populations crashed under the harvest pressure. Multiple species were pushed toward extinction. The protection of sea turtle eggs is now one of the most aggressively enforced wildlife conservation measures on the planet. The eggs are edible. People ate them for thousands of years. They are off every mainstream menu now, not because of biology, but because the animals that produce them cannot sustain any harvest at all. Crocodile eggs farmed in some regions, consumed locally, run into the flavor problem again. Crocodiles are carnivores. They eat fish, mammals, birds, carrion. Their eggs taste like their diet. Strong, gamey, intensely animal, not impossible to eat, not unsafe if properly cooked. But not competing with a mild chicken egg on any culinary level that matters to a mainstream consumer. The reptile egg story is the same story as the wild bird egg story, told with scales instead of feathers. Now here's the section that genuinely surprises people. The one that connects everything to something most Americans have never considered eating but 2 billion people on Earth eat regularly: insect eggs. Insects produce eggs in extraordinary quantities. Some species lay thousands per day. They require almost no resources. They have a microscopic environmental footprint compared to any vertebrate animal. And insect eggs, while invisible on mainstream American menus, are already part of the daily diet of roughly 2 billion people worldwide. In Mexico, ahuatl, the eggs of a specific waterbug, has been consumed for thousands of years. Called Mexican caviar by some food writers, described as mild, nutty, slightly briny. Nutritionally comparable to conventional eggs. In parts of Southeast Asia, various insect eggs appear regularly in local cuisine without any particular cultural drama. So why are they not in every American grocery store? Here is the answer. And this is the part that tells you something profound about how human food culture actually works. It is not biology. It is not safety. It is not flavor. The barrier is entirely psychological. Psychologists call it the omnivore's dilemma. Humans can eat an enormous range of foods, including many things that would kill us. So we developed a powerful disgust system to help us avoid unfamiliar, potentially dangerous items. That system gets calibrated in early childhood, based on what the adults around you treat as food and what they treat as revolting. Once calibrated, it is almost impossible to override with logic. You can tell someone that a cricket egg is perfectly safe, nutritionally excellent, and environmentally superior to a chicken egg. Their disgust system does not care about your logic. It cares about what it learned when they were 4 years old, sitting at a kitchen table watching their parents react to food. The disgust response is not rational, but it is incredibly powerful. And it has kept insect eggs off mainstream American tables, despite every biological and environmental argument in their favor. Soft CTA, 1500 words *, the fact that 2 billion people eat insect eggs and most Americans never will, because of a disgust response calibrated in childhood, is exactly the kind of thing this channel exists to explain. Subscribe every week. Exactly this deep. Here's the twist nobody sees coming. The one that reframes the entire video. We've been asking the wrong question. The real question is not why don't we eat other animals' eggs? The real question is how extraordinary is it that we eat any eggs at all? Think about it from a purely biological standpoint. An egg is a reproductive cell, a highly protected, nutrient-dense package designed by evolution specifically to develop into a new organism. Every animal that lays eggs has biological machinery designed to protect those eggs from being eaten. Shells, camouflage, nesting behavior, aggressive defense. The entire evolutionary purpose of an egg is to not be eaten, to survive long enough to hatch. And yet humans found a way to eat 1.4 trillion of them per year. We didn't find a way to eat eagle eggs because eagle eggs are protected by a bird that will attack you viciously, laid in inaccessible locations, in quantities too small to matter, with a flavor that reflects a wild carnivorous diet and a parasite load that poses genuine health risks. Every single biological defense that evolution built into the eagle egg works. The egg does its job. It doesn't get eaten. The chicken egg does not do its job. Because we spent 10,000 years breeding a bird specifically to fail at protecting its own eggs. We bred out the defensive instincts. We bred out the seasonal laying. We bred out the clutch behavior. We created a bird that lays an unfertilized egg every single day and doesn't even try to protect it. And then we surrounded that bird with infrastructure, hen houses, feed systems, temperature controls, disease management protocols that ensures it keeps doing this indefinitely. The chicken egg is not a natural food. It is an agricultural product, an engineered object, the result of one of the longest, most successful selective breeding programs in human history, and it is so normalized, so ordinary, so completely taken for granted that you crack one open without thinking about any of this. The eagle egg stays an eagle. The chicken egg becomes your breakfast. That difference, 10,000 years of human intention versus 10,000 years of evolutionary protection, is the entire story. You don't eat eagle eggs because nobody spent 10,000 years breeding eagles to let you, and the chickens, they never had a choice. Now that's a breakfast thought.